All right. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host. My name is Mark. And today on the show, I've got a new friend in recovery. And her name is Quay. Quay, thank you so much for your service today and for doing this.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Hey, the recovery band, I brought them with, and they're going to play some funk. Yes?
Okay.
And a studio audience.
I got fans already.
You do. You were talking about kind of like fans. Now you're a singer.
I am, but one of many.
One.
But you know what? Let me tell you, when I was drinking and using drugs,
Yeah.
and in that life, like I was singing and in studios and that kind of stuff in my 20s in New York City, I was gonna die.
Really?
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
They would have named a rehab on behalf of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the drugs were rampant. The men, the predators, all that stuff was just right there. Here, do this, and we'll give you whatever you want. And I didn't know how to say no.
Wow.
So I had to get out because I knew that was going to be the end of me.
Yeah. So you lived in New York.
I lived in New York.
Yeah. And that's
born
where you
and raised.
started. That's where you started singing and.
Yeah, I've been singing all my life. My parents sang. My father played guitar, saxophone. My mother played piano. We all could sing. My sister could sing. So we would the 4-part harmony around the piano.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
So, how long have you been doing recovery?
38 years.
38 years, and is that continuous?
Yes.
It is. So
I'm a one-chip wonder.
One chip wonder, 38 years.
38 years. Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
And have you done it all here in Florida, or is it?
No. I had to get out of New York City at age 30 because, like I said, I was, going to die if I kept doing what I was doing. And I moved up to Albany, New York, which was where my older sister was living.
Oh, really?
So I went to her. I didn't know anybody else in town but her. Thank God. I did a geographic and it worked. And I started going to meetings. I didn't go to rehab, detox, none of that stuff. I heard all about it, but I never went to any of them.
You never went to any of it.
No.
So
I went straight into the rooms.
Oh, wow. And you were talking about how the fellowship was so. You and I were having a conversation before this about how the fellowship is powerful for you.
Yeah, because I didn't have rehab. I don't have, like a lot of people refer to their early days and they talk, oh yeah, when I was in rehab, I did a 4th step. And I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that. I went into AA and NA meetings, mostly AA. And people, in Albany in those days, this was 85, the rooms were full of old white dudes.
Okay.
50, 60 years old. And, working class, families, kids estranged because they've been drinking for, umpteen years. Mm-hmm. So they had a lot of hard stories. They lost their careers, their family. And I couldn't relate to any of that because I didn't have any of that to lose. But what I could relate to was the love that they gave me.
Yeah, that's the one thing that helped me early in my days. And when I picked up my year medallion last May, I ended up reading from the Big Book. Mm-hmm. And 509 in Gutter Bravado, it says, at my first meeting that night, the people fulfilled their responsibility. Yeah. They made me welcome. Yeah. I met others like me and it felt good. Maybe this thing is for real. So I went to another meeting and I got the same feeling, then another meeting. Then the tomorrows came and went. And to this day, I still haven't found it necessary to take another drink. That was well over 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And so what was it like walking into your first meeting? Like, what was your preconception and what was it like when you got there?
I didn't have any preconception because I had no idea. I didn't know what... Okay, so we're going to go back.
Okay.
So I lost everything in New York City. Okay, a 5-room apartment full of furniture, industrial sewing machine, piano, the whole works just gone. Up in smoke. Okay. I left and went to Florida because that's where my parents had retired some years before and moved. When I was 21, they said, bye, see you, we're out of here, we're going to Florida, you're not coming. So that's what they did, and I would visit them and all that. But when I lost everything, that's when I came to Florida to my parents.
Okay.
I had a duffel bag. That's it, with everything I own. A duffel bag. That's all I own. And an unemployment check.
Really?
That was it. So, and I figured I'm going to have a vacation, sunny Florida, beach. Brought my little bikini. I was very slim in those days, whatever. And I was going to vacation. I'm not going to act like I was acting in New York with my parents. It's just not going to happen. They did not see me at my worst, and I wasn't planning on them doing that. Mm-hmm. So, it took me about 3 months of relaxation, sunshine, blue skies, to then, find the people, places, and things and do the same stuff I was doing.
Okay.
And that, it went fast. I went fast. I picked up where I left off. I mean, I didn't know any of this stuff until later after I got into the program. But this was what I was doing controlled, drinking, and then I just let loose. And so what happened was that I knew that something was terribly wrong with my mind. Like, I knew that I was crazy, like I was going crazy, like the obsession and the compulsion to feel differently than how I was feeling, that was running my life. And I knew that. I was aware of that. On some level, I didn't know what I could do about it, but I knew that was happening to me. So right around the corner from my parents' house was a psychiatric hospital. And one day I just walked in. And I said, I think I need to talk to somebody because I think I'm crazy. I think something's really wrong with me.
Yeah.
And they gave me this woman, sat down with her, and I told her my life story for 45 minutes. I told her the truth about me, the truth. It was a fourth step before I knew what that was.
Yeah.
I told her what I was doing, how much I was doing, how often, what I was thinking, how I was feeling, how I was behaving. I mean, I just let her have it. And after 45 minutes, I said, so what do you think? Like you're the you're the expert in crazy. Tell me what was. She said, well, what you've described is psychosis. So I said, okay, there's a diagnosis for it.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nice word for crazy, but it does sound crazy.
Yeah.
She said, well, the interesting thing about it is that most people who are psychotic aren't able to describe their psychosis in such detail. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, right. So what? Am I a smart psychotic? Like, what the hell? That doesn't make... So she said, well, the good news is that if you stop drinking and using drugs, chances are you won't be psychotic.
Okay.
And I was like, really? Just like that? Like that? Just, yep.
Sounds like a solution.
I know.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, how am I going to do that? Because I was drinking and using drugs every day. How am I going to stop?
And you had just come with a firm resolution from the sounds not to do the same things that you were doing before.
And then ended up doing the same thing, finding new people to do it with. Yeah, sure. So she said, well, is there somewhere safe you can go? And I immediately thought of my sister, my older sister, who had seen me, in the grips of my disease at one point. She came and spent a couple weeks with me. And she was like, oh, girl, you got it bad. Whatever it is, you got it bad. And if you want help one day, you can come see me. And if I have to lock you up in a room, feed you 3 meals a day, I'll do that. But I got to get away from you because I'm heartbroken. And I don't want to watch you kill yourself. She said that to me. And I won't forget it.
Yeah.
So I said to this woman, yeah, it's my sister. I said, she's up in Albany, New York. She said, well, go to her. And when you get there, you call these people. And she had this little cabinet with a little key. She opened, she had pamphlets, AA, NA, CA, all these little two-letter,
She's loaded you up with pamphlets.
Yeah, the pamphlets. She said, call these people. They got numbers, phone numbers. Call them, and they will help you.
Really?
And I had never heard of any of this. So it was like, okay, here it is. She said, if I stop drinking and drugging, I won't be psychotic. I am psychotic. Okay, cool. Here's the solution. I went home to my parents' house and I told them the truth. I just told them the truth. My mother got on the phone. She called my sister and she said, we are sending her up to you tomorrow.
So do they bus you, fly you?
They flew me from Cocoa Beach, Florida to Albany, New York the next day. I had the duffel bag, the pamphlets, and my sister, and that was the beginning. I haven't had a drink or drug since. So
what was it like when you got to Albany?
It was, like I said, those meetings were full of older white men, and you know, they didn't look like me. I was 30 years old. I looked around and said, "Oh, okay, I gotta hang out with these old dudes." I mean, you know, I like men, okay, you know, all kind of different men, so that wasn't an issue, but I didn't really have a lot in common with them. I said, what am I gonna do with it? What?
So did they all have like long-term sobriety?
Some of them. Some of them had maybe 8 years or 10 years. You know, anything was long-term to me because I didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how much time they had until years later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you just don't know. You look around and say, well, everybody's got more than me. They know I'm the new person.
Yeah.
So.
When I first came to AA, or if I'd see somebody new walking in the meetings, because I was going to, you know, several meetings, I was like, oh, they must be new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the case.
No, the first meeting I went to, I scanned the room, of course. I'm pretty smart, you know, street smart, New York City, come on. Scanned the room, and I heard, you know, they went around and introduced blah, blah, blah. So then they said, okay, so are there any newcomers? So I raised my hand. I know I'm a newcomer. I raised my hand. And to get the words out of my mouth, I burst into tears.
You broke.
I broke. Because I had never really said that out loud. You know, my name is Quay, and I am an alcoholic. And I just fell apart. And there were two people sitting, you know, we were sitting in a big circle, and the two people on either side of me just put their hands on my shoulders, and I could feel their warmth, and that was good from then. I mean, it was just like they huddled around me. You know how we do when we do the right stuff. You know. And he said, keep coming back, kid. You know, they had all... I went out to coffee with those old guys. I played pinochle on the weekends. I mean, we would get a big old pot. We had them 90-cup pots.
Oh, yeah, the big ones.
Oh, yeah, big. Oh, wow. Big coffee, smoking cigarettes, and cursing. It's my turn. You know, playing cards. I learned a lot about the program around those card tables with those old guys.
Really?
I did. I asked them questions because I'm curious. I want to know everything.
Do you remember what kind of questions you would ask them?
Yeah, like, I gotta do this every day. I know you guys say one day at a time, but you really mean like forever, don't you?
How do I get that many years?
I know. Holy crap. They say, don't drink and don't die, kid. Okay. I can do that.
I love old timers, right? Like people that have been that have been doing this forever, because sometimes I notice like they don't hold back. Like if you're spitting some BS, they'll call you on it.
I know. So there was one guy, old guy, Tim. I love this freaking guy. He was old, gruff, and he still shook. Now I found out later he had about 8 or 9 years of sobriety, but he still shook. His hands shook. Right? He'd get a cup of coffee, and he would spill it before he got to sit down. So people would get him coffee. I mean, I watched this stuff. People would run and get him coffee. As soon as they saw him, bring it to him so he could drink it and not spill it. Okay. But this guy, if you talk too long in a meeting, he would yell from the back of the room, "This is not a speaker's meeting." Said, really? Okay. Or you'd be talking about some crazy Gucci stuff. He'd be like, "That's not AA." He would just yell out, and he didn't care. Yeah. He did not care. So you knew when he was in the room, you better behave yourself, because he would embarrass you in front of 50 people just like that.
And he did that to you?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh.
So he saw the ego.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Plus I'm a whippersnapper, you know, I'm young and I'm like, you don't know shit. They would say, we spilled more than you drank. It's like, I don't think so, but whatever. They were cool. But
I had a guy that told me, he's like, I got neckties longer than your sobriety.
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, and then one day he called me. And he look, here's my ego, right? Yes. He called me one day asking me a question about serenity or something like that. Like he was going through something. And this guy has like almost like 30 years. Yeah. And he's calling me. I was like, oh, here's a chance for me to dish it back. I was like, listen, you can have a necktie longer than my sobriety, but how's the quality of the fabric? And he's like, I hate you.
That's a good one.
He's like, you got me back. You got me back. So you had a good time. You sit around, play cards, drink coffee.
Oh,
yeah. So you were hanging out with people with time and quality of time, and
and they loved AA. You know, you just could tell they loved AA, so they were not willing to let us change it because after I got sober, it seemed like more and more young people came in, more people from the rehabs. We had people. It was the inner city. We had people getting out of prison and coming in. We had all kind of people.
Yeah.
So, and then it was right across the street from a big park, and so we had homeless people coming in. I mean, we had, it was like. So we had to keep things in line, in order, and otherwise it would have, dwindled to some other crazy stuff.
So you became very active in the room.
I did.
And so that was your home group.
It was my home group.
Yeah.
It was a clubhouse and had 2 or 3 meetings a day, every day.
So you're not drinking and drugging, you're going to meetings.
Right.
When did you start working this? Like, when did you get a sponsor? Like, when did you start working the steps?
My memory sucks. I swear to God, 38 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
My memory sucks. Matter of fact, yesterday I was talking and something came to me that I have been wrong about something, like a timeline of what I thought when would happen, and it just came to me and said, no, that's not right. That's wrong. I've been saying the wrong stuff all these years. Oh. I swear to God. So I got a sponsor early on, but she was mean. She was mean. She was tough. She was rough. I don't know. I think I picked her because she was mean, and I figured, she'll run me out of here, and that'll be good. I'll have an excuse. You know how mean she was to me. She really was brutal.
She hurt my feelings.
Oh my God. Yeah, so she was pretty mean. I didn't like her too much, really, but she was okay. I got more from other people than from her, to tell you the truth. She felt like a drill sergeant, Did you make your bed? Did you wash the dishes?
How many days you go today? Would you help?
I called her up with some old problem I was having. She said, call me back after you make your bed. I'm like, what? I ain't gonna do anything. Oh my God. So I was about a year and a half sober when I did the third, the fourth and fifth steps.
Yeah.
With her. That's what I thought. It was 3 years, but it was a year and a half because my timeline was all messed up.
Yeah.
And then when I was 3 years sober, this young girl walked into the meeting, beautiful. She was 18, gonna be 19, and 19 was the drinking age in New York at the time. So she wasn't even legal. This girl had a story that would make the hair on the back of your neck stand on end.
At 18?
At 18, okay? She was beautiful, drop dead gorgeous. In those days, like Madonna was the big thing, so she bleach blonded her hair. She's a white girl. Bleach blonde her hair. And she wear a lot of leather with chains and stuff. She was all right. She was all right. Yeah. She was ahead of her time, right?
Yeah.
But I just saw, oh my God! I said, these guys, they're gonna be on her like white on rice.
Yeah.
I felt like I needed to protect her. I don't know why.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I got this motherly thing going on. So I ran over and I just, snatched her and I sponsored her. That's my first sponsee.
Oh, wow.
I was 3 years sober. It was my first sponsee. And we hung out for about 10 years. And it was really very sweet. She got married. I was at the wedding, all kind of stuff.
Really?
Over time, she had a baby. Now he's, I don't know, in his 20s or 30. I don't even know. She's 50-something years old now.
Really?
And she's got 35 years of sobriety.
Wow.
I know. But what happened was that because I was 3 years sober and she was just coming in, I was like, oh shit, I better do the rest of these steps. Because I'm supposed to be a role model. I only did the fourth and fifth steps. I got to do some more. Whoa. So that was what inspired me to do the rest of the steps. Was sponsoring her.
Wow.
And not wanting to be a hypocrite.
Yeah, because you can't transmit something that you don't have, and I've learned that in the program. See, for my first sponsor that I had, I learned from him you can't transmit it if you don't have it, and it's a very interesting story how I learned that. Yeah,
and also I have the gift of gab, and I have to be careful with that because I had a significant person in my life in AA about a year. Well, he came in 2 months after me, and that was his home group too. And so I saw him every day. I listened to him every day, and the guy was freaking brilliant. Okay. And so after a year and a half of us like listening to each other, we got together, and we spent the next 15 years together. Mm-hmm. But this guy had such a working knowledge of how to translate the principles of the program into action. It was phenomenal. I haven't met anybody since him that can do that.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to do that. So I have to be careful, because he would say to me, because you can talk about something and you can conceptualize it and you can interact with people on a subject, does not mean that you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So just because you talk doesn't mean that you're walking a walk.
But it has to be your experience. You can't talk from book knowledge or information other people have given you. And although that stuff is good, you have to have experienced that. And so that is what you are transmitting, is your experience, not the words.
So you're talking like a story to back it up.
Yeah, I got example. Every time I open my mouth, I got examples to back up what the hell I'm talking about, and that's the only way I need to talk. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's nonsense. It's something I read or something I heard or something somebody else said, and it's not mine. Yeah. So that is what got me to do the steps and to get into service. He said the surest, quickest way to a higher power is through service.
Really? Mm-hmm. I've never heard that. That's the first time I've heard that. So you found a higher power through doing service?
Absolutely.
How did that go for you? Do you remember?
Well, it was because the people that helped me, the kindness that they showed me, the love they showed me, the concern, all of the stuff they showered on me when I first came around for no reason. I mean, I didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't owe me anything. They didn't even know me, and they were just kind to me. I knew somehow that was the hand of God.
Wow. Okay, that's powerful.
It was the hand of God, because honestly, there were guys in that meeting that I knew for a fact did not like black people.
Yeah, okay.
Did not, and had maybe, for whatever reason, maybe had not been around any, or where I had some crazy ideas and that, whatever. But they were able to leave that outside. And once we got in that meeting, they treated me with kindness as if it didn't matter. I knew that. I knew that they were stepping outside of whatever patterns or whatever, upbringing they had to be of service to me. Yeah. And that is God.
Yeah. Well, that kind of that's really powerful when you think about the fact we don't care what race you are. Right. We don't care what your religion is. Right. We don't care what, we just...
Yeah, what age, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, your education.
We have to set that stuff aside. Yeah, we don't even know who's sitting next to us. Doctors, lawyers, all kinds of different people get sober. So you don't know.
Absolutely.
And you don't really want to know to have then a different judgment about them or to give them more clout because they're, you don't
I can't
want
identify.
That stuff. Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. Yeah. So I realized that what these people were giving me was more than who they were. Was more than what they would have given me of their own. So that there was something else that was going on. There was something that they were conveying or they were being the channel of that I couldn't. Also, in the beginning, I was very angry at God. I had always believed in God. I had prayed for, booze and drugs and all that kind of stuff. Right. And, the doorbell would ring and somebody would show up. I'd be like, yes, thank you, God. So, yeah. Okay. So there was God. There was a God. I just didn't know what to pray for because everything I prayed for was to my detriment, and He would give it to me. You know what I mean? It was like
selfish prayers.
Yeah. So I didn't want to pray because I was pissed because He should have been able to read my mind and give me the right stuff. and say no to me on the other stuff. But he wasn't. It was like, no. If I prayed, I got whatever I was praying for. It was just really weird.
But so you believed and you prayed and you got this stuff, so you knew there's something there.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, you're mad at God.
Right, because where am I? Look where I ended up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Strung out, homeless, pretty much.
What did I do to deserve this?
I know, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm smart, I'm nice, I got a lot of things going, check, a lot of things going for me. Well, how come I ended up like this? So I wouldn't blame him. I blamed everybody. So I might as well blame God too. Anyway, so God, I didn't really want to pray. I didn't want to do any of that stuff yet, because once I got into the program and I started to get like these blessings and this love and this, I'm just feeling really like, with these people and feeling like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I do deserve this. Just having questions like that. I said, well, you know what? I think I owe God.
Okay.
Because I don't deserve this. This is like way too much more than all the things that I've done. I should be 6 feet under. So I started to think like that. Maybe I should. So at this home group, okay, I couldn't talk. I was a babbling idiot. Early sobriety in my mind, I was racing. It was crazy. I was really crazy. Talking about esoterics, all kinds of stuff. I was way out. Some of the
peyote yelled at in the back of the room.
Yeah, the LSD and all that. I was having all of that was coming back in my head. I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
So I couldn't talk. So what I did was, it was a big room. The clubhouse was a big room. They had 2 bathrooms, men and women bathrooms, and they were always nasty. Always nasty, dirty. So I started cleaning the bathrooms. That's all I could do. And I'm not really like a clean freak, but I clean the bathrooms. And I felt like, and I try to do it without anybody knowing or, sneaking in there early before people came in and cleaned it. And then people start saying, oh man, the bathroom is so clean. It's like, oh, you could eat off the floor. And I'd be like trying to hide, but I was like, my little chest was sticking out like, yes. So proud of myself.
Well, that's a lot different than what I
sweet.
That's a lot different than what I heard. Like some rooms, like here's a towel, go wipe some tables,
right.
wipe some ashtrays.
No. I felt like I owed a debt, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to pay it. So I get there, I sweep the floors, wash the ashtrays, smoking cigarettes in the meetings. We had them tin ashtrays. I washed the ashtray. I was like clean all around. Okay. And I could do that for a while. And then that was my first service position, and it wasn't even a position. I just made it up because it looked like it needed to be done, and I was willing to do it.
That's
and then
awesome.
about you had to be 90 days to do anything. So after I got 90 days, this crazy guy that he used to chair the Monday noon meeting. I went to noon meetings. I worked 2 to 10. So I went to noon meetings to start my day off. He finally got a job. And we were like, this guy, he was a crazy guy. And he got a job. And everybody like burst into applause because he'd be gone. We wouldn't have to deal with him because he'll be working.
Bob got a job.
I know. It was terrible. I know. So I took over his job. He was the chair. He would pick the person to chair the meeting on the Monday noon. So somebody pushed my hand up.
You got voluntold.
Yep, I got voluntold. Exactly. You here, you should do it. Said, all right, okay. So that was my first job. And oh my God, I couldn't wait because I had 90 days of meetings. And I went to at least a meeting a day, mostly 2 on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays. I go to 2. I had a job. I got a job. I worked 8 hours a day. So I remember one time, this was crazy. There was this beautiful woman who, I just thought she was the epitome of grace and, woman, of such beauty. She wore these long dresses and she like floated across the room.
Okay.
Anyway, so I asked her if she would chair the meeting, next Monday. And she looked me dead in my eyes and she said, no. And I burst into tears.
What?
I have a doctor's appointment. She said, it's okay. She said, I'll do it another time. That's how messed up I was. I took it so personally. She's like, no, she's taking the chair. Oh my God, she doesn't like me.
You?
I know. That's how messed up I was. Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
So what was it like chairing your first meeting? Like when you're sitting in front of these people that you're getting to know, what was it like?
Well, I learned from the best, keep it brief, talk about yourself, keep it to, your drinking and AA and what recovery and, all of that. And you share and then you're done, okay? And then you open it up and you pick on people and you don't make comments about what they have to say. You don't add anything. You don't take any. You just leave it be. You don't get up and go to the bathroom. You don't get up and get coffee. You sit still for an hour. Can you do that?
That's a challenge sometimes.
It is. But, after a while, how many thousands of meetings I've been to, it becomes second nature.
Yeah. So when did you come to Florida?
So I came to Florida 7 years ago. I retired from work.
Okay.
29 years of working for the state government. And, I retired with a nice pension. And
nice. And so you landed here in Sarasota, and when you came down and you had this, you already, kind of been up there building this fellowship, like you were still doing the same meetings up there for all those years?
So I did NA and AA together for 10 years.
Okay, you worked both programs.
Both programs. And then I haven't been in NA really in a really long time because actually after a while I was the person with the most sobriety, and I don't really think that's a good idea for me to be the old timer in a room all the time. The only old timer, you know what I mean? So it just didn't work for me. But anyway, I did a lot of other service though. I have been doing service from that first 90 days.
That's beautiful.
I have not stopped doing service. I have done throughout 38 years. I have had some kind of service commitment. And my favorite ones were the ones I went to prisons. I went into men's prisons up in New York.
You did H&I and went into men's prisons.
Men's prison, medium and maximum security prisons.
What was that like?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I had about 25 guys that I went into like every other week. And then the week I didn't go, somebody else went, so we alternated. But I did that for probably 8 years.
Wow.
I got to know these guys. You know what I mean? Some of them were doing bids like 25 to life.
All right.
Okay, 3 to 9, whatever. I'd see them in the beginning, and then 3 years later, they're getting ready to get out. So I'd transition, and then I'd see them outside.
Really?
I'd see them come to the meetings. It's like, oh my God, what? And they, it was some of the best meetings ever.
Wow.
In these prisons. Honestly.
Wow. So it really touched you. It really.
It was significant. I put some ground rules out there when I first went in and told them, look, this is not a jail meeting. Okay. So I don't really want to hear about your jail story. I want to know why you're here. I don't want to know any of that. I want to know about your drinking and what that's done to your insides and how, and what you're doing about it. That's what I want to hear about. And so and it was just me and 25 guys, so I kind of like ran it like that. So it took a while, but there was one meeting that, after a few years of getting to know these guys, and I'm an open book. I tell them all kind of crazy stuff. And they felt comfortable enough to reveal these, things about themselves to each other. I mean, they're in prison.
Yeah.
To each other. And to me, it's very strange, but they bonded with each other. And at least they had each other. So then they were back at their barracks or whatever. They were, they'd see each other and they'd give a nod. Like you just kind of have this camaraderie. You gotta have it in prison for years. It's like really sad. But one meeting, we were talking about the 9th step, and I don't know why, but maybe I set the tone or whatever, but these 3 guys revealed that they were in prison for having killed somebody. And I didn't know that. I knew these guys for a few years, and I did not know why they were in prison.
Yeah.
And, one of them, he said they were having a fight outside of a bar, him and his kid, and he punched the kid, and the kid hit the ground, hit his head on the curb, and died because his head hit the curb. And he was like 19 years old. He'd been in prison ever since. He was probably 35.
Wow.
It was crazy. And he was heartbroken, and he was crying, talking about how he has been trying to make amends to the family of that kid for years. And they won't have anything to do with him. And he just was so sad. And and then that made, somebody else share. And after a while, 3 or 4 of them had shared how they were in a similar situation. Powerful, powerful, powerful meetings with these guys in prison. See? And then, and it could have been me. I mean, it ain't like I didn't do anything that should have got me in prison. You know what I mean? I just didn't get caught.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a yet. So you got to see these guys grow in the program of AA and kind of within themselves, within a prison, and wow, and bond.
We had when I got into service at the area and district level, we had a guy that had run the prison meetings, because there's a lot of prisons up in upstate New York, and he had pretty much ruined our relationship with the prison, guards and all these people, the dignitaries, because, he didn't want to get fingerprinted, and he had all this stuff to fuss about with getting into the prisons to do a meeting. He just gave them a lot of trouble, and they just said, well, the hell with you. We don't want you here. So he made a bad name for AA in a variety of prisons up there. So me and my friend, she was doing corrections and I was doing public information and cooperation with the professional community, we band together and said, well, let's do this. Let's try to open up, this communication with these prisons. It's been a while. I know we knew he ruined things. We knew the guy, but let's try to clear this up. So we set up meetings with them. They have, their own areas and their own hubs, and all this kind of stuff. This supervisor takes care of this geographical area that's 5 prisons are in. We got all that info. We set up meetings, and we had a 1-day sharing session with the prison guards and all of the staff and all these people, big shots in the prison system. And then we had AA members that came. And so there was over 100 people in this 1-day session. We called it a correction connection. And, and they told us what they needed from us. And in order for us to come into the, facilities, these were the rules. And, so it was a lot of information that we needed. But there was a deputy commissioner of the whole thing there. And he got up to that mic and he said, I'll never forget this guy. He said, that these men in prison, no matter what they're there for, no matter how long they're there, they deserve a quality of life. And this guy had tears in his eyes as he shared about how he knew for a fact that AA would help them have a better quality of life. And he was welcoming us.
Wow. That is powerful.
It was amazing. And that was the beginning of us. There were 33 prisons in upstate New York in our area. And we were able to go to at least half of them on a regular basis.
Wow. So you were heavily involved in service.
Heavily involved. Yeah. And that day of sharing, I'm telling you, me and my girlfriend, we did some magic. Did magic because these guys are stoic and then they're about the rules and then they got guns and all they are not playing, and we were just like, hey, come on now, this is what we want. Don't you want? Okay, so we get in there that day. We arranged for them to release 2 prisoners. They were actively in prison. They drove them down 2 or 3 hours to this day thing to be our guest speakers. And they spoke about how AA had touched their lives while they had been in prison and had made such a difference in their quality of life. They had green outfits on. They had shackles. They had to unshackle them to have them speak to us. I mean, okay, if anybody needed to hear that and see that and be inspired to go into the prisons, that was it. That was it. We were like, oh, okay, where do I sign up? We had sign-up sheets. We had, I'm telling you.
Well, you'll never know, like, who's going to touch you, like, in this program. You never know what's going to touch you or who's going to inspire you or whose message is going to get through to somebody or to touch. Like, that's a very powerful thing, like, to see that.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So,
there was another kind of prison that I loved going into. It was called shock incarceration.
okay.
And it was like boot camp. And it was just 6 months. These guys that, had some kind of first offense and it wasn't violent or whatever. So they would set them up for this shock incarceration. And so while they're there, it's more like treatment. But 6 months, they had all these different people come in and speak to them and, counsel them and all this kind of stuff to try to straighten them out so that they don't, live like this for the rest of their lives. It's just a wake-up call. A lot of them were young guys. Okay. So I would go in when they got there, the beginning, the 6 months.
Yeah.
So I would see like 40, 45 guys one night. And then 6 months later, I would see those same guys on their way out. That was it.
Yeah.
The next month I'd see a new gang of 40, and then the next month a new gang. But then I would see them on the way out every, what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, in the 6 months, I would come back. I said, okay, you guys look familiar. So I was here, right? 6 months ago. Yeah, he said, yeah. And then they would mention something. I said, well, I told my story. I already told you, so I'm not doing that again. So they're like, no, but we wanted to ask you about the singing because you didn't finish telling us about. I mean, they remembered
Really
things that I had shared 6 months ago.
Really.
I
wow.
know. It was like, what? I was like. It was just amazing. So, really, you just never know how you impact who and why and what.
You never know.
You never know.
That is the beautiful part about doing service. And the other beautiful part about service is that in no time when I do service do I drink or drug.
True.
Yeah. And but just to be able to, like, the impact that you've probably had on people.
It's been crazy.
That is so
crazy. So now I go, okay, so I've done all kind of crazy stuff, right? I was a delegate to the General Service Conference. I was an area delegate to the General Service Conference in 2000 and 2001.
Wow.
That was a whole nother piece of service that was just wonderful.
Wow.
It was the year that the 4th edition of the Big Book was approved. We approved that at
Really?
our conference in 2001. We approved that edition. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a big one.
The 4th edition is a great edition. I think I have a 3rd edition in the bag too.
That's what I got sober on.
Third edition, and it's crazy because I also have this other book called Experience, Strength, and Hope, and it's the stories from the first 3 big books that aren't in here anymore, and that's good too, and So the 4th edition is an amazing.
So after that, okay, I've done a lot of things. I've chaired conventions,
Really? Here in Florida or in New York?
New York with 800, 900 people.
Wow.
For a weekend, chairing a convention and having like 60 volunteers because I know everybody. Okay?
Yeah.
I was like, I need you. And you're gonna sign up for 2 hours, and I had 60 people that signed up for stuff, and they came and showed up, and they did their thing, and I was like, okay, that's how you do it. I know how to gather people. It's just crazy right now. Okay, so I come to Florida, and I get hooked into service just like that.
Yeah,
just like that.
And did you even try to get hooked up, or do you just?
Yeah, no. I meet the right people.
Yeah,
I meet the right people, and they're like, "Hey, I heard you share. Why don't you come on?" I said, "Okay." I spoke at the state convention at Florida State Convention the 3rd year I was here.
Wow.
Yeah, down in Miami, right outside of Miami. I was
wow.
Yeah. I just, because I feel like it's the least that I can do for what I have been given.
Yeah.
Honestly. And it's like, it's the least, if I don't do anything but be of service to AA, it's the least I could do.
Yeah. Well,
That's how I feel.
It's kind of like the paradox. We give away to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, it's like that reminds me of like the feeling that I have inside. Like I could live to be 100, and I could never repay AA back for the life.
But I'm gonna try.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like, you say, well, spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. But guess what? So we're not perfect and we're never going to be perfect. But guess what? We're going to try. I'm going to try. I'm not going to just say, oh, well, I'm an alcoholic, so what?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's like you don't just sit there and not do anything.
Right. I'm going to try.
It's a program of action.
Yeah. So I got into service here. I've been here 7 years, and I started going to a couple of high schools and speaking as part of the classroom thing. Has been really good. And then we got this gig last year to speak to the Sarasota Police Department.
Yeah.
There were like 200 cops.
What?
Yeah, and there's this woman who's a teacher. She teaches them all kinds of things, and I don't know, she's a friend of AA because she wants us there. So we got an hour and a half of every day of a 20-day training session for 200 cops.
Wow.
And every day and I must have done about 10 or 12 of the 20.
Wow.
To be a we have 3 or 4 panelists, and we would just share about, and I'm telling you, they were like, you people are like real people. You're really nice, and you're recovering, and your stories are like, oh my God, but they need to put a face to stuff. They need to hear somebody's experience. They can read about it all day long, but that doesn't work.
Yeah.
They need to find out from real people how it used to be, what happened, and how it's like now.
Absolutely.
And that's what we share with them, and they were fascinated. And so, so now they go out on the beat and they say, we tell them, you're going to run into us at our worst. You're going to run into us at our worst. Be kind. You may have to arrest us and do all that kind, but be kind. There's a person in there.
Yeah,
that's really hurting. And maybe you'll be able to help them. We've got lots of stories of people who have been helped by police. Believe me.
Oh yeah, that's their God moment. Yeah, like that's their God shot is being helped by police.
Yeah.
And that's it's. You have done a lot of service.
I have.
You're very in about the fellowship. You know what I love about this episode is that it's the 12th episode of the 2nd season of this. And so it's very befitting that we're talking about service and working with others. And so for you, for the newcomer that might be listening to this, do you have anything that you would like to say to the newcomer?
Yeah, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Because we believe in you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. Quay, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. And I love the fellowship also because it's a great opportunity to get to know people. And you never know who you're sitting next to. Yeah. And if we hadn't had this opportunity and gotten to know each other, I wouldn't have known this stuff about you. Yeah. And that's beautiful.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much for your service today.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for taking the time to sit down. And so... All right.
Where's that applause?
You know what we can do? Let's see here. You know what? I don't know if I have any I do have canned laughter in there somewhere. I think I also have like that sad trombone sound, like wah wah. All right. So, but the recovery band, they're gonna take us out, right?
Okay.
Kick the one funk song you guys know. All right. Oh, there it is. We are not a glum lot, are we? All right, Quay, thank you so much for today. Thank you. All right, goodbye, everyone, and be well. Thanks.